Garden tour number 2. And Abby sitting there hanging out. It's going to be a hot day today. So we're going to get out here and get a garden tour done before it gets too awful hot. So last night we watered with some of our compost tea and some of our sea minerals. That was our first application that we were able to do yet this year, which is unusual. Usually I have about 2 applications done in May, and then I've probably had about 3 so far in June. But this year, this is our first already at the end of June. So I'm really struggling here with some of my squash plants. I have, as you can see, there's squash. My zucchini I replanted a couple times and something has eaten these all up again. There is some ants on there. I found some yellow and black bugs on there. There's a new one trying to come up there. Hopefully we can do something to save that. But my summer squash have survived. 2 out of my 3 plants. They're a little bit chewed up as well, but they're doing okay at this point. I did flush a lot of squash bugs out. In fact, here's one there. And these are on my winter squash here. But everything's starting to look really good, if my dog doesn't lay on it. But we've got a lot of different shelling beans up through here. This row here, I believe, is my black beans. And so the little tendrils are starting to grow. So I'm trying to gently train them to move over and get onto their trellis here. Trying to gently just get that started without breaking them. And then these ones, you can see some of them are already way up here high. These, I believe, are my kidney beans. And then there's my black beans. I had some winter squash growing really nicely up here, up along the trellis here, and every single one of those are now dead. So I'm not sure if it was that same bug that's getting my zucchini or what, but some sad perils of gardening. I've really been struggling with some of my plants this year. Seems like my squash and cucumbers are kind of struggling already this year. And then something has been coming through and eating a bunch of my bean plants. So let's take a peek here. Here's the cucumbers. These are just a slicing cucumber down here. They're starting to look nice. I do have one that has shriveled up and died there. And as you can see, there's some little black and yellow striped bugs and I'm not sure if that's what's killing them. They do fly, because that one just took off flying to another plant. But they're starting to get to this other plant as well. So I'm going to try spreading some diatomaceous earth on them. See if that will help with whatever. Because I did find there is a bunch of little ants as well. So, but these ones are slicing. And then I've got some that are pickling up through here. Some of these did not grow real well through the center. And again, I don't know if something was eating them or what. But then here's some of my pickling ones, which I hope do real well. And then now my goal tonight is to get my garden weeded. I have yet to weed here in the green beans. So you can see some of the weeds are starting to grow pretty good. But still, even without weeding, it's the end of June. Without weeding, I really don't have that many weeds that I'm going to have to contend with. So it's pretty awesome. But something has been eating the tops off my green beans. I'm not sure if that's a deer or what it might be. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. With any of my gardening stuff, if you ever have any ideas or suggestions or things that you try differently, please let me know. Always willing to check out new ideas. But if I go over to my second row of green beans here, these ones have really struggled. Something's ate all the middle section here of them. I've replanted, and I do have some new plants coming up here, but still not as many. Some of them have still already got chomped down. So we'll see what happens. But something right there that's not a deer there, obviously. Looks almost like something's been eating it. The holes in it. So, ideas? Anybody have any ideas? So they're pretty small there in the middle. But then towards the end here. Thankfully I have a lot of green beans still canned from last year. Oops, sorry guys. So we'll see what happens, but if I don't get a lot of green beans, it'll be okay. That's why I plan for some years to not be as much. Alright, so then we have another kind of shelling bean. And I have tucked in some tomato plants in here. So we'll see how they do. A few tomato plants next to these beans. And the bugs are terrible this year in my garden. I was out here last night watering and they're all over. These are some voluntary dill plants. And they are ready before my dill pickles are ready. But okay, so we just have a partial row here of the beans and then finish up with some more tomatoes. Got tomatoes all up through there. We'll go ahead and get those trellised pretty soon. They'll start taking off and growing like crazy here soon, but And I've noticed with some of my tomatoes that there's some missing. It's just gone. There should be one in there. And they're just gone. So I'm not sure if something's eating those. If it wilted over, I should see the wilted plant. Okay, we got some lettuce, and we also have some cabbage growing in here. And I can see that the bugs, the slugs, are already doing their work in here. We have to get them sprayed, see what we can do there. Here I've got my rows of peas. And continuing down here with the cabbage, there's a few more cabbage, some pretty small guys that didn't take off quite as well. But that's okay, because then that staggers my harvest of them. Glancing over here at the peas next door again. I don't know if the camera will pick it all up, but there's a lot of peas on there. And I'll be needing to pick again. I was gone last week and came home to my first picking of peas and picked over 7 gallons, almost 7.5 gallons of peas. And so that was my biggest picking that I've ever had. We've got some onions here. These are white onions because I was unable to get my normal onion. So they're not quite as good of a keeper, but I figured I'll just chop them and use them right away for salsas and stuff like that. But I have a question for you guys. I seen somewhere where a lady cut the onion tops off of her onions as they grew to help them get more energy down to the bulb, and then she chopped up those onion tops and froze them to use as onions later in the winter. I had never heard of that and wonder if anybody else has ever heard of that or had success with that. So it's a pretty interesting concept. She said that you could increase your onion harvest. So if you consider cutting and chopping all those tops off, then yeah, it would increase it quite a bit. But here is my peas. My netting seems to be doing fairly well. This is a new netting for this year. Seems to be doing fairly well, but I definitely didn't get it put up as quick as I should have. But I have a lot of peas again, and looks like they are needing picked. It's a pea. See if I can do this with one hand. But that one's not as full as a lot of the ones that I had the other day, but it had been dry while we were gone, and I wasn't here to water, so they did get a good dose. Good. They got a good dose last night, so. Okay, now I have a row of tomatoes here. And I've had already a casualty. This tomato plant got busted off by my kids. But I'm going to try. It was holding on by a thread, and I'm going to try just kind of burying that down into the dirt there, that stem. See what happens without finishing breaking it off. because tomatoes will grow roots up their stem. So I don't know if that will help it to survive or not. But here's another fella who's leaning over. I'm not sure. Looks like he's still attached good. He's just, for whatever reason, tipping. Get him set up there a little bit better. So, yeah, there's a spot there. I have 5 spots where I'm missing tomatoes. And there's no plant that's wilted anywhere. It's like they're just completely gone. But these guys are starting to look pretty good. Another one missing there. Okay. Just a sneak peek while we're up here into the blueberries. They are coming along really well. Starting to see a lot of blue. This branch, these couple of branches are so loaded that they've went down to the ground. So I need to put a support up under them. But you can see they're starting to color up already. So usually what happens is the birds get into them before we get them. So I need to try to get a netting over them soon to keep the birds out. But I've got blueberries up through there. And then there's my strawberry patch. I'm just coming right through here. Peek at the strawberry patch, and then we'll go down in through the corn. This patch has done amazing this year. They are winding down now. But I have a patch that is the regular June bearing. And those plants are kind of dying down now. And then I've got the June bearing one, or the ever bearing ones. And they're both in grow boxes. And the only thing special that I've done with them is to spray them with some compost tea made with worm castings and using sea minerals to help boost the soil. I sprayed them last year. Had not sprayed them at all this year until last night. And this year, so far, I have got over 86 quarts off of just these couple small areas. So it has been a crazy year for strawberries. Most I've ever got before. And like I said, I didn't do anything special besides just doing my fertilizing, which is what I try to do with all my garden. And I've done with my peas last year there too. Nothing again this year, but like I said earlier, so far I have over 7 quarts of peas just in one picking off of those rows over there. Now that is 4 rows. I plant 2 rows close together. A little more like a square foot gardening method. But here's my corn. I do have 7 rows this year. My outside row is shorter, as you can tell. That is new territory. This is the first year that I've planted out that far into that last row. but it also got planted about a week later than my other rows. So it's a little bit shorter, but that's okay because then that'll help us extend our harvest and we'll be able to eat some fresh corn a little bit longer. That's the great part about succession planting. When you plant something and then maybe a week later or 2 weeks later plant another batch of it. So it's a good method to try if you want to extend your harvest for eating. Okay, I'm going to just buzz over here for a second, over by the house, see how our cabbage plants are doing. And again, don't be too judgmental. Definitely need to weed. Like I said, I have not weeded really much at all this year. But I do plant some cabbages over here along the east side of the house. It gets some nice morning sun, but then is a little cooler in the afternoon of the heat of the day. So my cabbages seem to really like it over here. So got some plants, different varying stages of growth, which is what I like. There's some, and then lots of weeds. You can see my spinach has already bolted because it's been so hot. So I just need to pull that out. Probably tastes pretty bitter now, but a couple more cabbage plants. Alright, coming up to the grow boxes here. Up by the chicken yard. Got potatoes planted through here. These did not get watered last night. I'm going to give them a good dose tonight. More potatoes over here. These ones just kind of voluntarily came up from last year's crop. I have really struggled with carrots this year. And I have planted this box a couple times. And I do have a few that are starting to come up. Got some there, got some there. I have a whole little patch down there at the bottom. But even the ones that have come up, something's eating the tops of, probably a bunny rabbit. I do have some cabbage, 4 plants there. And then some beets. And I succession planted these, but my little ones, I have to come around here, but my little ones not growing really great. But I'm gonna peek into here, see what we can find. There's some yummy looking beets in there. So I've got a few beets that I can harvest out and eat. We'll love that. The kids love eating the fresh beets. Got some celery still going along here. Now none of this got sprayed last night with our compost. So I've got, I believe I planted kohlrabi right there. So there's a few of them coming up. Chickens are talking. My cilantro has bolted and gone crazy. The reason I was leaving it is because it was going to seed. But I think I might trim some of it back and just let some of it go to seed. We have an escape artist this morning, I see. Chick, 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 chick. Okay, and then we've got our Swiss chard. This is a new project for me. Never done Swiss chard before. So if anybody has any recommendations on how to cook it or how to prepare it, throw them at me so I can test out and see how we like it best. Some more yummy beets. Those big ones need pulled so that way it makes more room for the smaller ones. Let's see if I can get him out of there. Pretty nice looking beet. I don't want them to get too big and then get a little bit too woody, but got some carrots that are gone to seed from last year. I was just going to let them go to seed, but I might pull out a few because I do want to plant a few more things in these boxes. So, and then these potatoes have kind of taken over everything. I might trim them back a bit too, because I do have all the potatoes over here as well. Got all that section there. So that's about the extent of my gardening for this year so far. Some of it has been successful, some of it has not. It's kind of the way it goes, and you just kind of plan for that accordingly, and some years you do good, some years you don't. Really depends on being able to control some of those pests and some of the critters, and then just a matter of keeping it watered and healthy good there. Alright, thanks for coming along with me this morning early on our tour of the garden, our second tour, and we'll try to get another video in about a week and see how things have progressed from there. Hope you enjoy the tour. Again, if you have any comments on any pest control, any things to try planting, or any ways to try cooking or preserving any of the produce, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to get more videos, gardening tips, and different things, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button, and those really help with my channel being able to grow it and get it out to more people. As always, have a great day, and thanks for watching.